The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Jillian Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Sage 100C Lot and Serial Traceability and Expiration Dates for Manufacturing, presented by Rochelle Montoro-Hill of SWK Technologies. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment at the end of the presentation to answer our one survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Rochelle.
Hi all, Jolene, are you able to see my screen and hear me okay?
Yep, it looks great and we can hear you great.
All right, thank you all for your time today. I'm assuming you guys are all Sage 100 users and curious about Sage 100 with the lot serial and tracking and the new features that Sage gave us in this 2020 and product update 1 release. So first thing we will head into is looking at the requirement. So it is a requirement to be on Sage 100C, which is that subscription version. 2020 included some improved tracking, but product update 1 is where we're seeing that new expiration date field associated with the lot and serial numbers. We'll take you through a couple of parts of it. In 2020, the first thing that we're going to see, we're going to take a basic look at lot and serial item tracking in general, just kind of how does it work in Sage today? Where do we see it? Where are those numbers recorded when they're issued? Also, the new visibility that we get is that where used inquiry. We've always had lot and serial inquiry, but now we get where used information that's going to be included in those screenshots for customers, and also gives us that customer recall detail if we need to go back on something that's been sold as a kit or produced through production entry. In product update 1, we get expiration dates for lot and serial control. There's a lot of options to do by days, months, or years. We can be specific for sales, issues, and returns. There's even overrides for product line and item code maintenance. With those expiration dates, we have the ability to add them to old items that might already be in there with a lot valuation or serial. We can change expiration dates, and there's even some new impact on the reporting features that are some basic in Sage today. Because of this, there's been an impact on some reports, some forms, registers, and even the work tables. And we'll talk to you about how do you get there? What are those next steps? First thing we'll focus on is lot and serial item tracking. So valuation method is something that already existed in Sage, where they're recorded. If we look in item maintenance today, this isn't anything new, but a lot of times when we get connected with our customers, they mention that they want to start doing something new and tracking a lot number or tracking a serial number. Then we go look at it and they realize that's already there in Sage, and they maybe want standard or average cost. For many of you already on the call today, I suspect you already know lot and serial evaluation methods. You're already tracking them, and it's maybe that new visibility or the expiration date information that you're looking forward to. But we even did get responses that said, I'm really excited about implementing lot tracking. So lot tracking is there. It is part of Sage. It's just getting a lot of improvement in these new methods. So here's an example of how lot tracking works today. If I come in and I'm here doing a receipt of goods transaction, purchase order, receipt of goods is one of the ways that I bring inventory into Sage. So I've got an item number. If you do lot and serial distribution today, or perhaps you use multi-bin, you're used to seeing that little hazard light in the distribution box above. When you go to the end of the line, or you're ready to receive those items into stock, it's going to prompt you to collect a lot number and put the distribution quantity with it. The new field that we get in Product Update 1 is this expiration date. So expiration date, we can manually enter it, or you'll see as we go through the setup, there's multiple ways to get that to calculate manually or calculate with some logic at the higher level. So this in its essence, without the expiration date, is something that Sage has always had. When we're issuing parts, we need to choose our lot or serial item. When we receive them into the system, we need to issue those parts. So the next level of visibility we get is where was it used? So some of the functionality that Sage brought to us is if it's issued as a sales kit or heads out on a sales order invoice, so those types that are equal to SI. Also, if we talk about manufacturing and Product Update 1, it's still pretty straightforward. It's coming from our bill of materials module, and it's used within production entry. So if there's a part that's issued within a production entry and bill of materials, we're going to have that traceability and that visibility, and also that additional visibility with customer recall. So our next screen is what we see here in Sage. Lot and serial inquiry is data that's always been there in Sage. If you're in item maintenance or you go into inquiry, we've got this visibility. The new data fields that have been added in Sage are to have this customer number, have where did it go, where was it used. So there are a lot of transactions I know that we would like to see posted to lot and serial. Hopefully those are on the roadmap. We can see those in other transactions through the other modules in Sage, but this is a really, really nice place to roll with this data. So I received it. That's a purchase order. I can see the vendor it came in, and it came in on a receipt of goods. That second line item I have there was issued on a sales order. You can see that was invoice number 70 for High Tech, our customer. The third line item isn't related to a customer or vendor because it's part of a production entry, and that's something that comes out of stock and our finished good goes into stock. But that information is included here, now available from a lot and serial inquiry perspective. The next change that we see inside of Sage is the lot and serial number history report. These are new tables and field. So in 2020.1, these are new work tables that were added. So even though we're going to update to 2020 and get Product Update 1, my historical transactions that were already recorded didn't naturally write this data because those fields didn't exist. So to start capturing this data, you need to get the install, the update on version 2020 subscription with Product Update 1 before the expiration date, and that data is going to ride. With 2020.0, we are seeing the customer number and the customer name recorded within the transaction. So as we start looking at this, you can see that lot and serial item history, just like all of our other standard reports in Sage, multiple ways that we can sort. We have selection criteria by item code, by customer, even the bill to or invoice number, or by lot and serial number specifically. So we can get a view, figure out what customers we need to contact if there's been some kind of recall, or find out where your item was produced and what your finished good that part went into. Those are the new, those are the added for lot and serial tracking for the visibility. Next thing that we get to start taking a look at is the expiration dates for lot and serial items. Pretty advanced adding. I have to admit, when I heard that there was lot and serial expiration date tracking, I kind of figured it would be pretty simple, and as simple as enabling it and have the ability to do it. I was pretty impressed when I went in and saw all the visibility and all the ways we can do this by days, months, or years. Can be associated with sales, issues, even returns, and we can set it at the high level options, then override specifically by product line, or even very specific at the item code detail level. So pretty nice extra level Sage gave us. When I went in and started doing a little bit of detail, looking into what was there, I was happy to see when I went into the Sage knowledge base and Googled it, the first thing they came back was, we answered your request. And as you guys know, and I probably should have put a screenshot in here, but as you go into Sage, one of the things that Sage really counts on is customer feedback. And when you go in and start making those recommendations within your Sage install, Sage is listening to that. And the more people that make those requests, and the more specific those requests are, the more that's being answered. So this being added truly was at the customer's request. And as you can see here, maybe some of you aren't surprised, but I was pleasantly pleased to see all of the functionality that they added with the lot and expiration dates. So in inventory management, in the additional, the first thing we're going to have to do is turn it on. So we can always get the installs and the updates there, but we have to turn on the fact that we are going to track expiration dates. You can also require expiration dates at the high level. Then we get the ability to start calculating expiration dates. I gave an example here for the high level, for the sales and the issues, for days, months, and years. Maybe not practical in the live environment, but I wanted you to see all those functionalities are there. If you look at the bottom, you can see for each section, you can either choose by day, choose to calculate by month, or choose to calculate by year. Maybe on returns, we don't calculate at all because maybe that expiration date isn't relevant. Maybe that's something I just return, and maybe that goes into scrap. But as we start looking at this at the high level, are we going to require it? And then we start calculating those expiration dates. So as we maybe do a receipt of goods transaction, it's going to come in, and if I'm potentially 100 days from my receipt of goods or the date that I'm billed, I can put in a default of my days there. I have lot and serial for sales. So from an invoicing perspective, do I need to get this out a certain period of time? And you can see when I defaulted to months for my calculate by, that my selection criteria also changed to months. So number of months before the expiration date or number of months after expiration date as we think about an item from a sales perspective in sales order entry or invoice entry. The next side of that would be our issues. So if we're issuing that within a production entry and consuming that materials, in this case, I went by years. In some environments, that might be realistic, maybe more accurate that you fall into that days or months category, but it gives you, again, all of that visibility from an issue perspective, and then down to returns. So if you're using the RMA module to do returns, return authorizations, you're going to have a lot more visibility now on the items that you sold, and if perhaps the items you sold had already expired by the time you've agreed to accept them. At the high level, we'll jump in there. I might have talked in front of myself a little bit, but you can see here that we have days, months, and years. And you can see that we have our lot and expiration logic for sales, issues, and returns. The next thing I want to show you is in a little more detail. We're able to override those settings or define those settings specifically by product line. So there's a lot of reasons in Sage that you might set up new product lines. Sometimes that's for warehouse or segment reporting. Sometimes that's because it follows a different set of rules. Maybe it's lot or serial based. Maybe it's for a different GL account that you want to post to for sales, inventory. Product line maintenance with lot and serial gives us a whole nother reason to create a product line and follow logic and use some high-level overviews to say, this is a type of product that might expire within 30 days and let you streamline your sales, your receipts, and your production entry. So same concepts that we looked at item maintenance, but we get to override at the product line level. The next view here, if you look at the tiny little screen in the bottom left-hand corner, that is actually from item maintenance. And I've defined for this specific lot item that we're using here today in this test, I've said in the second one that you see calculated that I would like my expiration date to automatically calculate 10 days from now. So you can see at the top, I went in and I did a receipt of goods register and purchase order entry. You can see I was doing that Saturday, getting prepped to get the data in there. So on 2/14, it calculated my 10 days and added 10 days to my expiration date automatically. Of course, this is going to depend how quick are our goods moving. If these are perishable items, maybe we're putting a tray of pies on a lot or in a tray, and maybe they are going to expire quickly. These days and that rapid movement is going to be really important. So this is all really pliable for your industry and industry-specific information. Now, when we do a receipt of goods or we do a production, we're establishing and setting expiration dates for the new items that we're generating and creating in Sage. But Sage has also given us some cool tools. We're able to edit that expiration date that we've recorded. We're also able to go into items that are already part of an existing lot and add an expiration date to that data. I suspect, I haven't worked with our team yet, but we have some pretty talented consultants. I'm pretty sure someone's going to say we can import into those fields too. It is a data table, so I'm certain that's something we could help you with if that's something you want to make happen on those existing items. It's also changed with expiration dates some of the standard reordering that Sage has for us. So let's go ahead and look at how do we make that happen. There's a new button on our cost detail tab. So I'm in item maintenance. I'm on the cost detail, and that cost detail really is where we see all that lot and specific detail information. There's a new button, change lot or serial expiration date. I'm going to have visibility from the warehouse, the existing lot and serial number, the expiration date, and I get to pick and define a new expiration date for specific items that were perhaps received wrong. Maybe they're perishing a little quickly than we thought, or maybe something's impacted them like heat or environment, depending on what you've got going. On the next section are reorders. So now within some of that standard Sage functionality, in purchase order, we have that first option, our auto reorder for purchase orders. That's where it's going to go look at our item maintenance, look at reorder quantities we have, look at our reorder methods, mins and maxes, things that are already set up in item maintenance. But now we also get to look at an expiration date associated with lot and serial numbers. So this new checkbox is, are we going to include all expired lot and serial items in the quantity available? Standard Sage, but now we get the functionality of the expiration dates too. The next report that this is impacted is our inventory reorder report. Again, include all expired lot and serial items in the quantity available. One question that might come up here, and I probably should have let you guys ask this, start some feedback, but I did look into this, and as we talk about manufacturing, there are other modules that become really important to us. If we're using the product currently called Operations Management module known as Sage 100C Manufacturing, formerly known as Job Ops, we would have that same module, but that module has what we call Component Exception Manager. Today, Component Exception Manager isn't actually evaluating that, But from what I heard, the feedback as Component Exception Manager is due for a little bit of a refresh. And with the new functionality that's there, that's definitely something they're going to be looking at. And I suspect someday down the road, if we look at IRP for work order, that's also going to be one of those things where eventually we'll hope to get that expiration date and information as well. So we've collected all this information. We're recording the information. Really, the next logical step is, how are we reporting this information? A lot of reports have been impacted. Forms have been changed to include expiration dates. Registers, when we're updating, are there, and the work tables have been updated for your crystal reports. We also got a brand new report. So the brand new report is our lot and serial expiration status report. You can see, just like all of our SAGE reports, sort report by. I chose item code, but you have multiple statuses here. And a really neat place, we can put a date here. So I want to see items that are going to expire as of a certain date. Now, a lot of you can immediately see where this could add a lot of value. Maybe if we want to get some items out the door, we want to offer a quick deal to one of our customers to take a large part of our quantity that's going to expire quickly. This gives us that reporting, that visibility. You can also print if there's missing or expired dates. So even those old ones, we can go add expiration dates, change expiration dates, and we have reporting. That's the simple one that's been added. And I'm not going to try to get into detail on every one of these reports. But as I looked through the what's new for SAGE 100 2020.1, you can see multiple registers now include that expiration date. Logically, if we're putting something together, producing it or disassembling it, there's going to be dates associated with it. Inventory management, transaction registers, physical count, even those count cards. Purchase order registers, this is when goods come in, this is when goods come out, or we're issuing goods out through material requisition. Reports, production history, the reporting from our lot serial and inventory, a receipt history report when we identify and build that original expiration date. If you're using RMA, the return reason report, and also the receipts history report. Sales order reports for shipping and history. It's going to show up on our open order by item, promise report, job report, lot and serial as well. Also, multiple work tables. It looks to me like I might have missed our forms. We're going to see them on picking sheets. We're going to see them on packing list. All of that information that's going to be item based, if we're picking, if we're issuing, those are going to be included on those forms as well. And the work tables. AR invoice, bill of materials, inventory, purchase order, return authorization, and sales order. So basically, anywhere that item touches and that transaction or movement or the lot and serial item are going to be recorded and able to put on those reports. From a reports perspective, standard reports are going to be impacted when we go through a standard update. But if you've got a custom report and you want this information added to it, you can definitely come to your SAGE 100 consultant and get those reports done as well. So next steps. How do we move forward? How do we make this happen? We're here for you. We're SWK. You go ahead and you contact us. How do we get ready for this? If you want that new visibility, the where used, the lot serial, if you're not already on version 2020.1, you probably already know the system. You're going to come back to your customer account manager, your SAGE 100 consultant. We're going to get you moving forward on that upgrade, get you on the most recent version. Next step with that is if you want to implement this, we're here to help you with that. You can certainly go through it, test it, see how it works for you, but that's what your SAGE 100 consultants are also here for. We're going to help you do that release. We're going to help you get current, and we'll help you implement this, set it up, get it printing on any of your custom reports or custom forms, and send you down the road. On that note, hopefully I didn't talk too quickly, but we are focused on lot and serial and that information. Does anybody have any questions or anything else you'd like me to dive a little deeper into?
Thanks, Rochelle. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar. And just a reminder, everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And we did have a couple come through during the presentation, Rochelle. The first is the where used tracked from bill of materials production entry as well?
Yes, it is. You're going to see it both on sales order invoices that are issued and during production entry.
And we have another. In your opinion, what aspect of lot and serial traceability is the most useful for a manufacturer?
From a manufacturing perspective right now, we really want to look at what goes into what we're making. So it's not only what we're selling, which is that really valuable side from the sales order, but when you're making something and producing it, we really need to see what goes into that finished good. And the only way to get reel to reel is to have that lot and extra fields inside of Sage. I see a lot of customers that tell me, well, I don't really need lot tracking, but it turns out they've got an Excel spreadsheet somewhere where they're keeping lot numbers listed somewhere outside the system. So having that full visibility, issuing, tracking, and seeing it go into the final item that you're producing can be really powerful.
And we have one more. Where can I go to get more information on lot and serial traceability?
I would go straight to your Sage 100 consultant here at SWK if you already know. Otherwise, you can talk to your customer account manager. They'll get you connected with your Sage 100 consultant. And if your Sage knowledge base, the Sage knowledge base, if you're already logged in as a customer, has all kinds of super helpful and valuable information there. If you don't already have an account with Sage or access to how to get to your knowledge base and Sage information, I guess that's another reason to come back to your customer account manager. With SWK, we will help you get that set up and get access to Sage if you want your own visibility. Otherwise, that's what we're here for. Come to your SWK Sage 100 consultant and we will just tell you what you need to know, how to implement it, and help you do it.
Great. And give me 1 minute as I take back screen control. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Rochelle, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.